So this is a question that I get often with students, especially beginners, that are often hearing some misinformation out there on the internet about soft palate placement while they're singing. Should we be raising the soft palate while singing? Is that a standard across all sounds? Should we always be raising the soft palate? Well, it's a very good question, and it's one that we need to address. So let's talk about it.
Run, run, lost boy, they say to me.
Hi, my name's Mishan. I'm a singer, songwriter, and vocal coach. And with regards to the soft palate, really with all other aspects to singing, we want to try to make it as flexible and pliable as possible. And we always want to find balance. Rarely are we going to hold anything completely 100% static the entire time. Even things like support or a larynx position are things that are going to change. They're rarely going to remain absolutely static the entire time while we're singing, right? So we have, with support, we have falsetto. Falsetto doesn't use a ton of support. So that's a good exception to the rule of always supporting the voice, right? We don't need to use support when we're using our falsetto. So now when it comes to the soft palate and whether it should be lifted or lowered, I want to first walk those of you who are like, what's a soft palate? Through the process. First, I want you to stick your tongue up against the roof of your mouth. Then I want you to slide your tongue back as far as it'll go, and you'll feel a fleshy part in your mouth. That part is called your soft palate. So that soft palate is where your uvula dangles off of, and it is a port or a doorway to your nasal cavity. So it can close off your nasal cavity or it can open it up. So when it's lowered, that opens the nasal cavity. When it's raised, it closes off the nasal cavity. If you want to sing with more confidence and power, then you have to sign up for my lesson subscription. You get 2 group lessons with me personally every single week. You get access to all my courses, and you get access to recordings of all my one-on-one lessons with my students. That will help you learn vicariously through them. Click the link down below to sign up now. So you could feel what it's like to close off your nasal port by just making a sound that sounds like you've got a bit of a cold. And see, the funny thing is that a lot of people would talk about this as a nasal sound, but it's actually denasal. So nasality is this. Sound and air moving through my nose. When I talk like this, a lot of people might think it sounds nasal, but it's actually the opposite of that. It's the port being closed, that doorway being shut, so that the airflow is not escaping through my nose. So that is actually a raised soft palate position to close off the nasal passageway. If you're not able to find it this way, another way to find it is the raise of the soft palate is to do a gasp. Almost like you're shocked by something. If you feel that cold spot in the back of your throat, you know you're doing it right. You're getting the soft palate to raise and pitch upwards like a tent. So you can actually see this by getting right up to a mirror, looking in the mirror and watching what happens inside your mouth. Your soft palate rises as you intake the air. So that gives you a good idea of how to raise the soft palate, but now let's talk about lowering the soft palate. So for this one, I want you to make a sound as in the word sing, but hold out the NG at the end. Sing. Now when you feel that, you're gonna feel your tongue and your soft palate. And I want you to pay close attention to what's happening in the back of your mouth. Your tongue and your soft palate are going to press together. Sing. You kind of feel this push. And in order to do this sound, your soft palate has to lower. So that's a good way to feel what the lowering of the soft palate feels like. Now, do we want to sing generally in a raised soft palate position or more in a normal neutral soft palate position or a lowered soft palate position? Where do we want our soft palate to be? Well, generally, we want to try to keep the soft palate in more or less a neutral position. Now, there are going to be certain sounds and parts of our range that we're going to adjust the soft palate position. But by and large, when we're singing down low, we want to try to keep that nasal port open. Also, when we're singing high, we specifically want to have nasal resonance. So we'd never want to close it off completely. If I try to close it off completely and sing high, I'll never be able to sing high because head voice has nasal resonance in it. So we need to be able to sing high. We need to have nasal resonance going on. So that's an absolute essential as we move up. But will it be in a slightly raised position? Will it be in a totally neutral position? Will it be in a lowered position? That's very much based on the type of sound you're going for. So classical singers will often have a slightly raised soft palate. And this is where a lot of the approach of raising the soft palate when we sing comes from. Oh, oh. I'm raising my soft palate, lowering my larynx, and I'm getting more of an operatic type of tonality. Now, if we're singing in contemporary music, singing like this is not going to be the best because it kind of gives a certain quality to the sound that is very tightly tied to classical singing. And so you generally don't want to be singing with that type of sound in a regular contemporary pop song. So baby now. You don't want to go, so baby now. That is a raised soft palate. Generally, we'd want to sing, so baby now. That requires a little bit more of a different positioning of the soft palate, more in the way that we would talk. Not lifting it like this, where we get the raise of the soft palate. We're keeping it more in that neutral position and just allowing it to naturally shift, maybe slightly up, but not purposefully lifting it in an awkward type of way. That gives us a very unique and specific sound that is closer to opera and classical. So for all you opera singers out there, go ahead, try to use that slightly raised soft palate position. But for all of you contemporary singers out there who are not singing opera, you may not want to go down that route because it's going to be a hard habit to untrain out of your voice once you've trained it. I believe that a lot of the raised soft palate approach came from trying to get rid of nasality. And a lot of people are very worried about having a nasal tone. But there is a very big difference between nasality and sounding nasal. So like we already just said, when I do this, I sound kind of nasal. When I do this, I also sound nasal. But they're two totally different types of nasal sounds. One is overemphasizing the nose. The other one is de-emphasizing the nose. So de-emphasizing it will also lead you to the exact same problem of having a nasal tone. What we want to do rather is find a balance. And when we find a balance, you're going to find the proper presence and the proper ring in the voice where all of the registers and placements of where the sound can vibrate are going to be resonating all together and creating a really beautiful, very full and resonant tone. So the short answer to the question is not necessarily. We don't want to necessarily raise the soft palate. Generally, we want to try to keep it more mobile. But if you're singing more opera, classical type singing, then you're going to lean a little bit more towards the raised soft palate positioning. Now, I want to do some exercises with you that are going to give you conscious awareness and ability to adjust the way that your soft palate is moving. So the first one I want to give you is that NG sound that we talked about. So we're going to go and follow along with me. And just feel that lowered soft palate position. It opens up the whole nasal passage. Now let's switch to that high, raised soft palate position. Remember that gasp? That's what we want to do to set it up. Ah, ah, ah. You're going to feel this kind of press and push up behind the roof of your mouth where your soft palate rises. Ah, ah, ah. So that's a slightly raised position. Now let's talk a little bit about totally cutting it off. So I want you to feel this. So if we do, this is totally no sound coming up through my nose. I can plug my nose and there's no sound coming through. So you can do this. Plug your nose. And what you'll notice is it's very hard to sing up higher with that type of sound, and it just sounds terrible. It sounds awful. So if you want to get presence and brightness into your tone and fullness, then you definitely need to use some resonance and use your style to dictate whether you raise your soft palate a little bit or you keep it more in a neutral position. So I hope this explains it, helps you guys find different positions for your soft palate, and demystifies the entire process. So if you like this video, please hit the like button down below. If you want to see more videos like this, check out that one right there. Yeah, you're gonna like it.